Hi, I'm Liz, Elizabeth Joy Thomas. By now you would be aware of my vision and mission for a new global love revolution, basically to connect billions of people to love with the World Wide Web. You would have already read the introductory guide explaining about the globalloverevolution.com movement, the unitedones.com global community, and the godissociable.com global trainings and programs. I'd love to explain to you further about the Growing a Mega Great Church program, which I'm very excited about, so please grab a cup of coffee and join me for a quick 30-minute catch-up. If you haven't seen my intro video, I'll play it at the end, but first I just wanted to explain, in this video you will learn why God is sociable and growing a mega great church with the social solution strategies of the global love revolution are what I believe is God's plan for His church in the 21st century. The gospel is all about transformation, and as the God is Sociable programs are about how to get the message of God's word out to the world fast, they are not only tools for personal transformation and community transformation, but ultimately global transformation too. Together, the God is Sociable program, when run in conjunction with the Growing a Mega Great Church program, are powerful strategic tools designed to have the greatest global impact when coordinated through God's global church. We all know we're in a world of pain. And I believe at the heart of all the world's physical problems are spiritual issues. I also believe that the answer to all the world's problems are to be found in God and in His Son. His solution is to use us. His solution is together with Him in us. He has called us to share His message with all the world before He returns to us. The problem is there is a large part of the world that His message is yet to reach, called the 1040 resistance belt. So what is the solution? It's the only way for all of us to become overseas missionaries, to leave family and friends and to go to these most remote parts of the world, to another country that we know very little about. What impact would we really have? I believe that there's another way that God is making for us to take His word to all the world, and it's through the World Wide Web. The solution that I see is what I call the SMS, or the social media solution. Social media sites already cover the entire world. There are social media companies as numerous as there are countries, and together they cover all the four corners of the globe. If Facebook were a country, it would be the world's third largest, with over 800 million users, fast approaching 1 billion and now beating the USA, so Facebook is third only to China and India. The world thinks that they have the secret, but we know that we have the message, the last word on God's word. You've heard the song, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands? Well, His word and the world are also in ours until He returns. We have already been given the antidote for a sick world. Our mission is to spread His message of faith, hope and love to those that need it most. One of the best ways to get His message out to the world and the masses is via the internet, or the net as we like to call it. The vision God has for His people is an abundant world and life in Him, as He intended His original plan to be. The challenge for us is that there are now 7 billion people who need to know God. People, we all need to get united in love with people. Social media gives us a perfect tool to get connected with people and each other as a family all over the world. The Global Love Revolution is, I believe, a vision that I have been given to help get the message out faster to 7 billion people. My mission is to help create a compassionate global community, to teach people how to build loving relationships that last via social media and become people of impact and influence to learn what we really need to become more seeker-sensitive and social media savvy in the 21st century. I like to refer to this community as United Ones, as we are to be united as one in Him, united in love. Jesus said, "I will make you fishers of men," and I guess that's the aim of my mission too. I want to help us to let down our nets on the internet so we can catch more people to bring them all to the abundant blessings that He has for them. At this point, I thought I might share just a little of my journey so far. I've been very blessed to have a career and a life that has taken me all over the world to work and live. Most recently, I was literally a high-flying executive overseeing the design and development of many new hotels and resorts all around the globe. And while designing 5-star hotels and globe-trotting sounds fun, and believe me it is, what I got to personally see in my travels shocked me and disturbed me greatly. I now came to see more deeply realise just how rich and blessed most of us already are in the Western world, and how sad and sick the rest of the world really is. So I've been wrestling to find out what my personal response to this revelation is. Since arriving back home, I've had some time to teach myself all about social media as well as learn from the best of the best international internet experts. I believe that this has been preparation for the inspired strategies around social media and how to get God's message of love out to the world faster than ever before. Have you noticed that everything actually seems to be speeding up? What we do have in common, I believe, is that we all want to see a troubled world transformed by God, and most people realize that God uses us most in relationships. So you see, His solution is social. I know we all want to make a difference and to make our lives count. I believe the way that we can do this is to live out our own personal gospel message in a way that only we can uniquely do, and to share of ourselves and our lives openly with others through the World Wide Web and social media. Basically, to live our lives out loud. We all know that God is able, and I believe that He is, and I believe that in Him we are also able. I believe that God is sociable, and that we can be more sociable too in Him. So I believe it is God's heart that we, His people, become ambassadors for Him, not only in our daily lives but in our interactions on social media too. So let's get united in this cause to see a troubled world transformed through connecting more people to God. Here's a sneak peek into the social media strategies of the global love revolution, both online and offline. Here's a few stories of my early experiences of letting down my own nets on the internet. This is a new friend who I met at a spa here from Thailand. She was very unhappy, and it was immediately clear that she'd been trafficked to my country for cheap illegal labour. It was only via Facebook that I was able to reconnect with her again and communicate with her safely without it being discovered by her employer that I had organised legal counsel and professional help for her final rescue. I've since brought her to church and had dinner together, which she loved, and she's now happy in a new job and hoping to come to church with me again soon. This is another friend I know through social media. We sometimes don't even know who's reading our messages or even if they're getting through to anyone. But this young lady wrote to me telling me that she'd once had a faith and now through reading my post wanted to get that back again, and I was able to send her a copy of the daily devotional I used in the post. This is a friend I met through Facebook, who I'd never get a chance to meet in person, but I consider him a great friend and we regularly encourage each other in our faith. He was abused as a child and from the ages of 7 and 8 abused drugs and alcohol himself, so he was headed for a life of crime and violence, and he ended up in prison for 9 years with a 9-year sentence. But he has an incredible testimony of how he met the Lord in prison, and miraculously his prison sentence was cut short to 2 years. And he now has an incredible witness with his life story. The point of this message is that we will get to meet people who our lives would never cross paths with, as they live on the other side of the world or we're from different walks of life. This is the story of one of my new Facebook friends, and it's so inspiring. She received one of those Nigerian scam emails. We all get them, don't we? Well, instead of deleting or ignoring them, she replied and told them to stop their scamming and to give their heart to God. Well, the short version of the story is that he did, and he is now a pastor in Nigeria, and I'm now friends with him too. I'd love to get the opportunity to take the message of the Global Love Revolution and the God is Sociable trainings to every single church all around the world by being able to speak there personally, as this will be the best way to be sure that I was getting the message out clearly. But of course this is physically impossible to do. So I've had to find other ways to help spread this message all around the world as fast as possible. So I need to make these trainings available online so that anyone can access them anywhere and anytime. I also need God's global church to partner with me in this global project. I believe this is the best way for us to get the message of the Global Love Revolution to God's people, and to design an online and offline seminar series of video training so that every person of faith has the opportunity to easily access and implement these trainings on the social solution strategies to spread God's word with the web. The God is Sociable video series can be run by the churches in seminars, workshops, and small groups. Again, I would love to meet with the leadership of every church around the world to personally explain the social solution strategies of the Global Love Revolution. I'd love the opportunity to explain face-to-face all about the online and offline tools to teach people how to share their faith well with social media and the web, and how they can also use those tools too for their own church growth and community building. But of course this is not physically possible also, so I've also had to design the Growing a Mega Great Church program so that every church around the world can immediately gain access to the information to these trainings, to be able to implement them immediately through watching a series of online video programs. So just to recap, there are 2 training programs explaining all the social solution strategies. The first is Growing a Mega Great Church for all church leaders around the world, and the second is God is Sociable, is the program for the people, all the individuals that make up God's global church all around the world. I've designed these programs to work together to give God's global church in the 21st century some powerful tools. Both programs have simple and sophisticated social solution strategies to share the message of His Word with the world well via social media and the web. Briefly, both series provide powerful trainings on the WMDs that are available to the church, the weapons of mass devotion that we can all add to our arsenal today to share God's word with the masses. The big 4 WMDs that all people in all churches should be using to get the message to the world in a bigger way are Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Most people have had some experiences with some, if not all, of the big 4, but what I've observed people doing and churches not doing with these has inspired me to write these trainings, and believe me, they're needed, and people don't even realize it. Facebook. In the program, I'll explain in detail why it's an absolute necessity in anyone's arsenal. YouTube, how it can be used to instantly engage with millions of people. How LinkedIn can be used to connect with millions instantly in their own languages. And Twitter, how it can be used to connect as a mini blog for God and a hard-hitting weapon to bring the word to the world. Also, I believe I've been given some inspired strategies for ways to leverage these sites for maximum global impact for Him. The benefits of the Global Love Revolution, God is Sociable programs cannot be overestimated, but can be easily underestimated, as it is hard for the mind to conceive the impact and the influence on the world that the church is going to have with these strategies. I strongly believe these are again tools for transformation, as it brings the gospel to the world through individuals and churches in bigger, bolder, brighter, faster and smarter ways. So lives will be transformed personally in many communities and countries, and also throughout the world. This video is a brief introduction to both programs, each with targeted strategies aimed specifically for the audiences that it's designed for. So the program for the people gives information and results for the individuals in the church body, while the other is designed with strategies and social solutions solely for church leaders and the church as an organisation. So while the trainings touch on interrelated and similar topics with the same global aims, they train on specific application and implementation strategies for the different groups that are all interconnected and designed to ultimately work together. So only when both programs are organised and applied through God's global churches together throughout the world can maximum global impact and influence be achieved for Him through these strategies. Generally, both programs give people and the church the best basic social solutions, plus some super sophisticated social media strategies of content syndication, automation and optimization, and other tools and solutions for maxing the message to the masses, which is also the title of my new book. Our mission is to go and tell the gospel to the entire world. Together with the backing of your church, we can build and grow a global community of social media superheroes for God. As united ones, I see our mission together is to empower and equip, inspire and instruct others to also live their lives out loud and to share their own personal gospel messages well to connect many throughout the world to God. The vision of United Ones. The vision is to see a troubled world. The vision is to see a troubled world transformed through the global love revolution by millions of people connecting billions of people to God via the World Wide Web, basically to unite the church to unite with people. The aims of growing a mega great church are one and the same. I wanted to summarise very quickly just a few of the topics touched on amongst the many covered by the series. The Big Four, the overview of the Big Four, some basic tactics to super social solution strategies for the church. Facebook, how we can use Facebook as a Facebook of our lives. Strategies for the church to connect with their congregation, communities and the world, and spend less time on pastoral care. YouTube to GodTube, YouTube and the church, empowering and equipping your people in the church to use video to share the message with millions more. Tweet the word, Twitter tools for the church, connecting your congregation to grow community and to max your message and the message automatically. LinkedIn in any language, LinkedIn tools for your church and empowering others to testify in 40 plus languages within the reach of 11 million in minutes. And the best of the web, how to optimize your website. Many churches and people's websites are just a brochure. How to really communicate and grow your community with new tools of the 21st century. Some super tools. Overview of some other super social solution strategies for the church, including how to use RSS, SEO, Twitter feed and Hootsuite. Some super tactics, both online and offline, such as socializing your sign, your street and your church with social media, QR codes, how to use QR readers and video. And super techno, made super simple. How all of this looks very complicated, but how we can streamline your church's technology for delivery, for maximum impact and minimum input. Equipped to fully equip you and your church and your congregation for all things to do with social media missions, to empower you to max the message to the masses, is the name of my new book, and the program that empowers your church to the best social solutions to master your messaging and take the message to the masses in a bigger way. To inspire your church and its people to all the possibilities for masterminding the message for greater global impact. So here's a list of A to Z of the transformational tools and topics covered by the God is Sociable series. I'm not going to read through them all, but just to give you a bit of an idea, I'll just cover a few of the points such as autoresponders, blogging, syndication, automation, Facebook fan pages, community, GodTube, GoToMeeting and the Globe Bible. We'll also cover things like Hootsuite, websites like I Am Second, emailing lists, podcasts, and also the key to connecting with people and your passions and your purpose is through your passions, RSS feeds, things like search engine optimization, Twitter feed, TweetDeck, WordPress, and other websites like Yes He Is and YouTube. So here is my call to the cause. Let's get united to join in spreading the gospel through the social solution strategies of the global love revolution. Together we can create a united Christian community online active in social media missions. Please let's be united as a global church and church leaders to learn all we can to do social media and social missions well, and to encourage and equip others to also spread the gospel well via the World Wide Web. The Growing a Mega Great Church is your leadership training for the cause. So please join and let's partner together to get your message to the world and free the word to the world and grow a mega great church together. Remember, the vision and mission of the global love revolution is to train millions of people to connect billions of people to God and His love via the web. The Growing a Mega Great Church program is your training to train the trainers. So together we can empower and equip, inspire and instruct as many as possible by assisting you to get the God is Sociable programs to your church leaders and people. These programs will help God's people and the church to grow and learn to reach others, the community and the world. There are only 2 simple steps to get both God is Sociable programs for your church. Go to http://tiny.cc/0xl12, that's 0 small x small l 12, and http://tiny.cc/HQ4x9, that's small h, small q, 4, small x, and 9. This ends the main part of my coffee catch up with you today, but I do have something more for you if you can stick around. I've tried to present the vision and the mission as best as I can and as quickly as I can for you, but if you're still unclear or not certain of the need or the cause, then I have a few videos for you that will demonstrate in more details on each of the main points that I've tried to touch on only very briefly. This video is to remind us that we're all in this together and that humanity is waiting.
You know, it's not hard to see that there's this great imbalance and that things aren't right. You know, I know that, but for me, I suppose it really hits home if I stop and think about this moment, because it's happening right now. In the same moment, you have, you know, a generation who are sitting around entertaining themselves watching reality television, which, to be honest, is anything but real, while you have a child who is being prostituted behind closed doors and robbed of their innocence. It's not fair that we can go about consuming every single material option that comes our way while, you know, the widow and orphan are stripped of life's basic dignities because they're victims of a conflict that simply isn't theirs. It's not fair that there's a generation who are choking on their obesity while at the same time there's 30,000 children who will die today for lack of food. It's not fair that we have no problem going about spending $3 or $4 on what is basically glorified tap water in a bottle with a fancy label, while you have entire communities who suffer at the hands of disease because the only water that they have access to is foul and polluted. It's not fair that we, you know, can sing and dance and jump around in our freedom and in our liberty while at the same time the slave remains captive, out of sight and out of mind. It's not fair that we can sit and watch the evening news from the comfort of our living rooms and pity those who who lived where the storm hit or where the ground shook or where the water rose, and simply feel sorry for them and then change the channel and get on with supper? Is it fair to walk past the homeless man and give him nothing in the assumption that he'll spend it on booze or cigarettes, or to suggest that he should go out and get a job? I mean, who are we to judge the alcoholic or the prostitute or the addict or the criminal as if we are any better? Who are we to forget the downtrodden or the oppressed or the marginalised while we go about chasing the dream? We see this imbalance and we go, man, that's not right, that's not fair. But all too often that's all we do. Because for us to do any more is actually going to cost us something. And if that's where it ends, perhaps then it's fair to say that when we ignore the prostituted child, that we actually lend our hand to their abuse. That when we ignore the widow and the orphan in their distress, that we actually add to their pain. When we ignore the slave who remains captive, that it's us who's entrapping them. That when we forget the refugee, that it's us who's displacing them. That when we choose not to help the poor and the needy, that we actually rob them. Perhaps the only fair thing to say is that when we forsake the lives of others, we actually forsake our own.
This video explains how we can now get to many unreached people, not possible only a few years before.
I oftentimes feel like I'm stepping back in time, going to a country that is undeveloped. The sense of an almost pre-industrialized world that continues to do things the way their parents did it and their parents' parents did it. The irony of all of this is that these countries are more connected than ever. In Africa, in the year 2000, there were 2 million people using cell phones. There are now over 160 million cell phone users. In Morocco, 76% of households have television. In the Middle East, in the last 5 years, there has been 500% growth in internet usage. The fact of the matter is, the world technology landscape has changed more in the last 10 years than since the beginning of time. From radio to television, from television to satellite, satellite to internet, dial-up to broadband, internet cafes, cell phones, email, podcasting, blogging, instant messaging, text messaging, pocket PCs, voice over IP, on and on and on. The world is becoming an anywhere, anytime communications environment. With one click of the mouse, information can be sent instantaneously to the ends of the earth. The fact is, the world is connecting and the world is watching.
And the next video provides details of the 1040 resistance belt or window and where it is and who's in it. When they refer to missionaries in this video, take it as meaning any missionary from any denomination.
Between 10 and 40 degrees latitude in an area covering North Africa, the Middle East and Asia is the 1040 window. With the Earth's population approaching 7 billion people, 2 billion people live here. In the 1040 window, we find some of the world's greatest physical needs, most of the world's least reached people, and some of the most anti-Christian governments in the world. Let's take a closer look at the heart of the 1040 window, zeroing in on the very cradle of civilization in countries like Iran, Afghanistan, Turkey, and Pakistan. In this region, we find 500 million people, men, women, and children, all living and dying in spiritual darkness. People who have no knowledge of the truth. In these lands of the unreached, there is only one Assemblies of God missionary for every 10 million people. So without the light, many remain in darkness. But there is hope. Hope for those who face the reality of religious persecution. Hope for those who are confronted with disaster and chaos. Of the 500 million people in the heart of the 1040 window, 99 of 100 have never heard that Jesus is the hope for all the nations of the world. There are millions of people who have yet to hear the good news of Christ, so they continue day to day, living life with little faith for their future. The scriptures tell us of our responsibility. How can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can they preach unless they are sent? We have the hope of Jesus Christ. The time is now to reach those who some say can never be reached. Those who live today in the heart of the 1040 window are waiting for the hope of Jesus Christ in us. It's time for us to pray. It's time for us to give. And it's time for some of us to go.
I think it's time for all of us to go through the World Wide Web and through social media by connecting to as many people as possible with His Word and His love. Here are some interesting statistics on how fast the growth of the World Wide Web is. also love social media. And this video actually explains why. We're all created for relationships, community, connection, and love.
Baba yetu yetu liye mbinguni, yetu yetu amina. Baba yetu yetu liye, jina lako litukuzwe. Baba yetu yetu liye mbinguni, yetu yetu amina. Baba yetu yetu liye, jina lako litukuzwe. Tupe leo chakula chetu, tunachohitaji utusamehe makosa yetu. Katika majaribu lakini utuokoe na yule mwovu milele.
So, thank you for your time. Please share the message of the Global Love Revolution and my website, elizabethjoythomas.com, on all of the Big Four. And here's how to connect with me on the Big Four. You can friend me on Facebook at Elizabeth Joy Thomas. You can link with me on LinkedIn. You can also follow me on Twitter at Liz_Joy_Thomas, or watch me on YouTube at Elizabeth J. Thomas. You can also connect with the Global Love Revolution on social media. You can friend me on Facebook, Social Media Missions for Churches, or Social Media Missions for Christians, and there's the short link there. I also have the Global Love Revolution, United One, and God is Sociable, and .com on Facebook. Links to LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube.
They're surrounded by your grace, all my fears swept away. In the light of your embrace, where your love is all I need. If forever I am free, where the streets are made of gold,
heart. Let's get the message of love to the world in a much larger way together. When you join, you'll be sent all the details of your video program. Thank you for your